This is Hank. This is Cbmf, and I'm sitting out by the railroad tracks as I record this. You might be able to hear the wind blowing in the background. It's all kind of rustic and scenic out here. This week I had a chance to read Snotgirl, the new Bryan Lee OMalley comic book. I forget who's drawing it because I'm an asshole and I don't have it sitting in front of me right now. I'll probably splice that in later. And it's drawn by Leslie Hung. Anyway, my first thought upon flipping through it was that it was clearly a Bryan Lee OMalley book. It has a number of his, they're almost becoming Bryan Lee OMalley tropes, especially the concept of a character showing up and then there being a little box next to them that tells you their age, and then a couple of little factoids about them, which in and of itself winds up being kind of a parody where the factoids aren't useful information in any way. I might be saying all this in a tone that makes it sound like that's a detriment, but in fact I was really happy to see that it was reminiscent of Bryan Lee OMalley's previous works, because I love Bryan Lee OMalley's previous works. Of course, you might know Bryan Lee OMalley as the artist-writer of Pilgrim, his other two big projects being Lost at Sea and Seconds. I love all three of those books. I think they're really excellent, and one of the best things about them is that they're all really unique works of art. They're not just like one another. His style is so distinct that Bryan Lee OMalley is the sort of guy who can get away with just doing the same book over and over again. He could be one of those bands like Green Day or Everclear where a lot of their songs kind of sound the same after you listen to all their albums in a row. But instead I find that while there is a core to how he tells stories, there's a sense of experimentation to it as well, that he's attempting to take chances and he wants to push the medium forward, which I think is something you see in a lot of artists that have European and manga influences, that they become a little more interested in comic books as an art form rather than comics as a commodity. So North American artists and writers, or people influenced by North American comics, often they focus on being able to tell really good, straightforward stories. And maybe I'm seeing a difference between, like, that's why foreign films are considered different from North American released films. Or maybe I'm seeing something that's not even there at all, and I just have a bias because of the stuff that I choose to read. Anyway, I really liked Snotgirl. It was a really good single issue, and it's fun to see Bryan Lee OMalley working in that format. It's not something that we're used to, being as conventionally he's always worked in both graphic novels for a series and graphic novels for a standalone. So it's kind of neat to just get 22 pages from him, though I think Snotgirl was longer than that. It was a pleasant read. I like the main character, the art. The art is just enough like Bryan Lee OMalley's art while being slightly different to really justify itself and is pleasant to look at. The color palette is very interesting. It's got a very subdued sort of texture to it. Very pastel was my impression on it. I don't know entirely what they're going for with that, but it does make it, it's a very unique book in all ways. I'd recommend reading it. I think it's a really good book. I really enjoy reading it. I'd recommend it to others. You know, obviously there's no superhero fights in it, so if you want to see some dude go and crack a thumb on some other dude, then you're not going to get that. But, you know, if you just want to see some interesting characters, it is a bit more of a comedy book, as Bryan Lee OMalley's are. Even when they're sad, they're still kind of funny. So, yeah, if you like that kind of thing, you'll probably like that kind of thing. If you're wondering if you've enjoyed if you're somebody who's enjoyed the previous Bryan Lee OMalley works and you're wondering if you should check this one out, I would say definitely. Any fan of Bryan Lee OMalley should be reading this comic. I'm Hank, and that's a little bit of off-the-cuff Cbmf sitting out on the railroad tracks out in East Vancouver. I hope you're having a nice day, too.